we started talking about elimination. Now, these are problems that we actually have to manipulate a little bit. So the whole goal is to get the coefficients or of either the x or the y to be opposite of each other. So if I look right now, if I look at the coefficients of x, these numbers are not opposite of each other. If I look at the coefficients of y, those are not opposites of each other. The whole point is to be able to get them opposite of each other so that we can eliminate one of the variables. So, are there any coefficients that are opposites of each other? No, not on this one. So, if there are no coefficients that are opposites of each other, then you must multiply one of the equations by a number to get either the coefficients of x or y to be the same. So what I do is I look at the problem and I look to see, are there any coefficients that are factors of the other or multiples of the other? So there's an invisible 1 right here. Look at that. Doesn't 1 go into 2? Look at these two. 1 is a factor of 2. So that means that I can multiply, if I was to take 1x and I multiplied that by 2, that would get me 2x. Well, I want the opposite. So what if I multiplied by negative 2? That would get me a negative 2x. That is the opposite. That's what I want. So I'm going to multiply this entire equation by negative 2. I'm going to write down the first equation as is, not changing anything. I'm going to multiply the second equation by the negative 2, and I'm going to get negative 2x minus 6y equals 10. Now, these two are opposite of each other now. That means if I add these two equations together, that we are going to eliminate the x's. So now I'm left with negative y equals negative 3. I divide by negative 1, and I get y equals 3. So I have the y value. Now I need the x value. So you come back to the original equations. So I'm going to take 2x plus 5y equals negative 13. I'm going to replace my y with 3 and solve the equation. So I get 2x plus 15 equals negative 13. Subtract 15. I'm running out of room. Get 2x equals negative 26. Try that again. How about negative 28? Divide by 2 and get x equals negative 14. So if I was to check my work, check and make sure that works. I'm going to check and make sure that works. Okay, so 2 times negative 14 plus 5 times 3, does that equal negative 13? That'd be negative, oh, that was a horrible 2. 28 plus 15, does that equal negative 13? That does equal negative 13. So it does work for the first one. Does it work for the second one? I'll just write the equation. So negative 14 plus 3 times 3, does that equal negative 5? So negative 14, I'm going to move it just a little bit, plus 9, does that equal negative 5? It does equal negative 5, so I have the correct answer. So this right here is my answer. Okay, so now let's do this one. If I look at the coefficients here, these are not opposites of each other, nor are these opposites of each other. So that means that I have to multiply one of the equations by a number. So if I look at this first, I'm going to look here first. Are 2 and 3 factors of each other or multiples of each other? No, they're not. But because this has a 1 right here, that means that will be a factor of any number. So I want the opposite of 7. So the opposite of 7 is going to be negative 7. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by negative 7. I'm going to write down the second equation. And I'm going to add straight down. When I do that, these are opposites of each other, so they go away. That will get me negative 11y. Oh, I messed up right here, guys. Sorry about that. This is minus 3y. I knew something was awry. That goes away. There we go. How about that? I think that'll be better. How about negative 17y equals 17? Divide by negative 17, negative 17, I get y equals negative 1. Okay? Then I plug back into the original equation. I'm going to plug into the first equation. X plus 2y equals negative 1. So x plus 2 times negative 1 equals negative 1. X minus 2 equals negative 1. Add 2 and get x equals 1. So the point 1, negative 1. This one, again, I look at the coefficients. Oops. Look at the coefficients. I look at the coefficients. Really? Okay, none of them are opposites of each other. So that means that I need to multiply one of the equations. I always look to see if there is a coefficient of 1 or negative 1, and there is right here. So I'm going to multiply this equation by 2. When I multiply this equation by 2, well, first I'm going to write down the first equation. I will get negative 2x minus 8y equals negative 24. Let's make sure I multiplied correctly since I messed up a minute ago. So I'm going to add these two together. These are opposites of each other, so they go away. This is negative 13y equals negative 13. I divide by negative 13 on both sides. I get y equals 1. Okay, so I plug back into my original equation. So 2x minus 5y equals 11. So 2x minus 5 times 1 equals 11. 2x minus 5 equals 11. So I add 5 to both sides. I get 2x equals 16. I divide by 2, and I get x equals 8. Okay, come on. There we go. So I look at this one. Uh-oh. none of the coefficients are 1. So now I have to look closer. As I look closer at these, does 4 go into -8? It does. So I look at this one. Does 8 go into 10? It does not. So that means I want to eliminate my x values, or my x variables. So what can I multiply? What can I multiply by 4 to get it to be opposite of -8? So if I multiply this equation by 2, that would get me the opposite of -8. So -8x minus 10y equals -30. And then I multiply the second equation by 2, and I get 8x plus 16y equals 0. These are opposites of each other now, so here we go. I'm going to add straight down. I'm going to get 6y equals -30. I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides and get y equals -5. And now I'm going to plug it into one of the original equations, and I'm going to actually pick the second equation. 4x plus 8y equals 0. So 4x plus 8 times -5 equals 0. So 4x minus 40 equals 0. Add 40 to both sides. Get 4x equals 40. Divide by 4, and get x equals 10. So the answer is 10, -5. So I could do the same thing on my next problem. Here is my next problem. Okay, so 4, it's just like we just did a second ago. 4 goes into -8. I can multiply this by 2. I get 8x minus 6y equals 2. I write the second equation. Oops, sorry about that. I get -8x plus 6y equals -2. Add straight down. Oh, look at this. The left-hand side turns to 0. Both of those variables go away. Oh, look at that. That means that this is infinite solutions. Okay, so I'm going to look at this one. 3, does that go into 8? Nope. So I have to look over here. Does 2 go into 10? It does. It goes in 5 times. But we want them to be opposites of each other. So I'm going to multiply this one by -5. So I write the first equation, -3x plus 10y equals 11. Multiply the -5 through and get 40x minus 10y equals 100. And then I'm going to add straight down. That'll get me 37x. This will get me 111. Divide by 37 on both sides and get x equals 3. Okay, so x equals 3. Now we have to find the y value. -3x plus 10y equals 11. I replace the x with 3. I get -9 plus 10y equals 11. Add 9 on both sides. Get 10y equals 20. Divide by 10 on both sides. And y equals 2. So you have the point 32.